My brother lifted his champagne glass, smiled at 61 people, and said, "Before Ava gets married, everyone deserves to hear who she really is." Then my own voice started blasting through the restaurant speakers. I was standing at my engagement dinner beside my fiancé when guests turned toward me laughing. My mother didn't stop it. She stood up in front of everyone and called me the embarrassment of the family, while my brother played private recordings that were never supposed to leave my phone. I kept saying the audio was fake, edited, twisted, but nobody cared. Not when Daniel's parents were staring at me like I'd lied to them for years. Not when people started pulling out their phones to record me crying. Then something happened that made my stomach drop even harder. The restaurant manager walked straight toward our table, holding a laptop, and asked my brother why the USB files had been uploaded only 20 minutes earlier. The entire room went quiet for half a second. Marcus laughed too quickly. "What are you talking about?" The manager looked confused now. "Sir, your USB failed, remember? You asked staff to upload the files from this computer before the speeches started." I turned toward my brother so fast, my chair slammed into the table behind me. "What files?" I asked. Marcus wouldn't look at me anymore. My mother stepped in immediately. "Ava, stop making a scene." Making a scene? I was standing there shaking while strangers listened to a version of my voice calling my fiancé pathetic and my own family disgusting. Daniel had slowly taken his hand off my back during the recordings, like he didn't know who he was touching anymore. And the worst part? Some of the clips sounded real enough to scare me. Not because I said those things, but because whoever made them knew exactly how I talked. I looked around the private dining room at people I'd grown up with, coworkers, Daniel's relatives, family friends, and nobody was defending me. Not one person. Then my phone buzzed inside my purse. Unknown number. One message. Your brother didn't act alone. One piece of knowledge can change how a situation ends for you. Subscribe now so you're prepared. Then share this video and tell me what you think about it in the comments. I reread that text 12 times, sitting alone in my apartment at almost 2 a.m, still wearing my engagement dress. Mascara stains covered the sleeve. My heels were somewhere in the hallway. I hadn't even turned the lights on yet. Your brother didn't act alone. The message sat there glowing in my dark kitchen while my entire life felt like it had cracked open in public. Daniel had dropped me off an hour earlier without coming upstairs. That hurt more than I expected. Not because he yelled. He barely spoke at all. The silence was worse. Before I got out of the car, he finally asked, "Ava, were any parts of those recordings real?" I remember staring at him like he'd slapped me. No. But even answering felt useless by then, because my family had already done exactly what they wanted to do. They made me look unstable, cruel, dishonest, and they did it in front of every important person in my life at the exact moment I was supposed to be happiest. The scary part was realizing none of it had actually started that night. Looking back, there were signs. My mother, Lorraine, had been acting strangely sweet for weeks before the dinner. Too sweet. She kept insisting we needed a proper family celebration, even though we barely survived holidays without fighting. Marcus volunteered to handle the speeches and sound system himself. At the time, I thought maybe they were finally trying, which sounds stupid now. Growing up, Marcus could do no wrong. He was the charming one, the successful one. My mother defended him constantly, even when he lied, borrowed money, or disappeared for months. Me? I was too emotional, too sensitive, difficult. When Dad left years earlier, somehow that became my shadow too. But things got worse after my promotion 6 months ago. I started making more money than Marcus. I bought my condo without help, and for the first time in my life, I stopped financially rescuing everybody. I stopped paying Marcus's overdue bills, stopped covering Mom's temporary emergencies, stopped saying yes every time guilt showed up at my door. My phone buzzed again, another message from the unknown number. Watch the uploaded videos carefully. I opened one of the clips somebody had already posted online. It showed me frozen beside Daniel while the recordings played through the speakers. Then I noticed something strange. One audio sentence cut off weirdly in the middle of a breath. Another used a phrase I never say. And suddenly, I remembered something Marcus joked about 3 months ago while drinking at my condo. You know, AI voice software is terrifying now. You could ruin anybody with it. At the time, everybody laughed. Now, my stomach turned cold. Then a third message arrived. This time, it included a screenshot, a bank transfer, from my mother to Marcus. The payment description was only 2 words, dinner plan. And right underneath it was the date from 3 days before my engagement party. 3 days after my engagement dinner, my humiliation was everywhere. People I hadn't spoken to since high school were sharing clips of me crying in that restaurant bathroom. Somebody added captions over the video like it was reality TV. Bride exposed. Fiancé finds out the truth. Every time my phone buzzed, my chest tightened. Then Marcus called me himself. I answered immediately. "How long are you planning to keep lying?" I asked. He actually laughed. Not nervous laughter, confident laughter. "Ava, nobody cares what's true now. They already saw who you are." "That audio was fake," I said. "Prove it." I stood in my kitchen gripping the counter so hard my hand hurt. "Why would you do this to me?" There was a pause, then his voice changed completely. Cold. Bitter. "You were never supposed to outshine us." The line went dead. I just stood there staring at my phone, because suddenly, everything connected in the ugliest possible way. Marcus's business had been failing for over a year. Debt collectors called constantly. My mother kept begging me to help him get back on his feet. And every time I refused lately, she acted personally offended. Not worried, offended. Meanwhile, my life was finally stabilizing. I'd gotten promoted, Daniel and I were planning our wedding, I stopped being the family bailout account. And they hated me for it.
That night, Daniel texted saying he needed more time to think. I didn't answer. An hour later, another unknown message appeared. "I'm ready to show you the files." The sender finally gave a name. Nina, Marcus's ex-girlfriend. We met the next afternoon inside a crowded coffee shop because she said she didn't trust Marcus enough to meet privately. Nina looked exhausted before she even sat down. "He's done this before," she said quietly. My throat tightened. "What?" "Not this bad, but he manipulates recordings, messages, screenshots, anything." Then she slid a flash drive across the table. "I copied these off his laptop months ago." Back in my apartment, I opened the files with shaking hands. There were editing timelines, audio layers, cut fragments of my old voicemails stitched together sentence by sentence. Some clips were labeled AI enhancement. I stopped breathing for a second. My own brother had literally manufactured my humiliation. But the worst file wasn't the edited audio. It was a recording Nina hadn't opened yet. The title read, "Mom's Strategy Call, Final." I stared at that file for almost 10 full minutes before pressing play. Part of me still wanted to believe there was some explanation that would make this less evil than it felt. Then my mother's voice came through the speakers, clear as day. "She needs to be humbled before that wedding." I froze. Marcus laughed in the background. "Trust me, once Daniel's family hears the recordings, that wedding disappears." My stomach dropped so hard I had to sit down. They weren't arguing. They weren't emotional. They sounded organized, like people planning a business meeting. Then my mother said something I don't think I'll ever forget. Make her cry early. Once people see tears, they assume guilt. I covered my mouth instantly. Every second of that dinner replayed in my head differently now. The speeches, the timing, my mother standing up right after the audio started, Marcus blocking me from reaching the laptop. It had all been rehearsed. Marcus started complaining next. She acts like she's too good for us now because she got promoted. Mom answered immediately. She stopped helping this family the second she started making real money. Helping. That word made me sick. Over the last 4 years, I had paid late rent for Marcus twice, covered Mom's medical bills, sent grocery money, helped with utilities. But the moment I finally set boundaries, they decided I deserved public destruction. Then Marcus said the sentence that finally shattered whatever hope I had left. After this, nobody's going to trust her again. Not concern, not anger, punishment. I forwarded the recording to Daniel first, then to 3 relatives who attended the dinner, then to myself 3 separate times because I was terrified the files would disappear. Within 2 hours, everything started shifting. One cousin deleted the engagement dinner clip she posted online. An aunt called me crying. Daniel texted 5 words. I didn't know. I'm sorry. But the biggest change happened the next morning. One of the guests, a guy Marcus used to work with, uploaded side-by-side comparisons of the fake recordings and the raw audio edits. You could literally hear the cuts. The internet turned on Marcus fast. Then more people started talking. Old coworkers, former friends, people accusing him of scams, lies, fake stories. And by noon, someone had sent the full recordings to Marcus's employer, along with the guest list for my engagement dinner. By the end of that week, nobody was defending my family anymore. The evidence was too clear. The edited timelines, the AI-generated voice patches, the recording of my mother and brother literally planning my humiliation step by step. There was no misunderstanding left to hide behind. Guests from the dinner started contacting me, one after another. Some apologized privately, others publicly admitted they'd judged me too fast. One woman told me she still felt sick remembering how people laughed while I locked myself in the bathroom crying. Daniel's parents came to my apartment in person. His mother looked embarrassed before she even sat down. "We should have questioned your brother immediately," she admitted quietly. For days, my phone kept filling with messages from people who suddenly saw the truth. But the messages coming about Marcus and my mother were worse. Marcus lost his job 4 days after the recordings leaked. Apparently, HR received not only the engagement files, but complaints from former clients accusing him of manipulating invoices and lying about payments. His company cut ties with him immediately. My mother's social circle collapsed almost as fast. Church friends stopped answering her calls, relatives stopped inviting her places, neighbors recognized them from the viral engagement clips once the full story spread online. And according to my cousin Renee, things inside their house got strange after that. Curtains closed all day, cars never moving, packages sitting outside untouched for hours. Then 13 days after my engagement dinner, Renee texted me. They literally don't go outside anymore. I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I felt victorious. Honestly, I felt empty. Because no consequence would ever erase hearing my own mother laugh while planning to destroy me. A week later, Daniel asked me if I'd meet him for dinner. Just us. No speeches, no family, no audience. We ended up at a tiny Italian restaurant with 6 tables and terrible lighting. Halfway through the meal, he reached across the table and said, "I should have trusted you immediately." I looked down for a second before answering. "You trusted what everyone else trusted. But I still failed you." For the first time since the engagement dinner, I finally cried without feeling humiliated, just exhausted.
When the check came, Daniel squeezed my hand and asked quietly, "Do you regret exposing them?" I thought about my mother, my brother, the restaurant, the laughter. And then I thought about that recording, the one where they planned everything like I was a problem to eliminate. And I answered honestly, they exposed themselves.